President, please be seated. The court is now back in session, and the chamber hands the floor to the defense team for Mr. Nonjia to resume the questioning. You may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. One brief unrelated matter before I go, Mr. President. Does the chamber already know whether the video link testimony of tomorrow's witness will actually happen? I'm asking because of preparation issues.
President, the chamber will inform all parties this afternoon or the late test tomorrow.
All right. Good morning again, Madam Witness. I'll move away from examples of particular documents. Before the break, we discussed briefly your background, some general methodology issues, authenticity, chain of custody, etc. I would like to move now to another subject, and that is the selection of documents, specifically which documents were used. Just to bring into memory again, according to a memo from the OCIJ, you have reviewed 13,383 contemporaneous records. However, to create that Excel sheet with those 15,000 plus names, you have used only 871 documents. My question is, first of all, how did that number from 13,383 go down all the way until 871 documents that you ultimately ended up using for your list?
Mr. President, I just asked this number of 871. I'm not objecting necessarily, but I think counsel should explain how he came up with that number, just so that it can be verified by the chamber and the other parties.
That's actually not me who did that. It's the memo of the OCIJ E443/1.2. That's where I derive these numbers from. So it's not me who did that. So again, my question, can you explain to the chamber how those 13,383 documents let me rephrase, how did you end up using only 871 documents? What was the selection process? Can you shed some light on that, please? Thank you.
In the list, I selected those names from the list of incoming prisoners, and prisoners started to enter into their location from 1977 up to 1979. 1976 up to 1979. So I selected all those names based on those lists. And as for the 871 documents, it was dependent on the lists of prisoners that I checked. As for some other documents, Besides these documents, I have not taken all those names, other names from those documents.
Without going into specific or exact numbers, I'm still not sure if I understand completely. When compiling this Excel list, you apparently set aside roughly 12,500 documents. Can you explain why you didn't use the bulk, the vast majority of the documents in compiling the OCIJ list?
Let me clarify once again. I looked at the list of incoming prisoners based on the year. I worked on the list of 1976 concerning the incoming prisoners, and also I worked on other lists of incoming prisoners up to 1979. So I refers to the list of incoming prisoners first, and then I would go to check other documents. You brought up a name in my list. That individual is at 1948. Again, first I referred to the list of incoming prisoners, for example, 1976. And if the name appeared in the list that that individual entered in S21, then I would go to check other documents to verify. However, on some cases, the one who was in charge of the list was not quite sure with the prisoners' data. So I had to check and compare with other documents. Once again, I first refer to the list of incoming prisoners dependent on the year, and after that I would go and check and verify with other documents.
I'm not entirely sure if I follow, but let me try it differently, and let me refer to a memo from the International Co-Investigating Judge E393.1. That's a memo to Judge Kong Srim and Judge Nil Non, 30 March 2016, where he describes the applied methodology. And under point 4, he says the following. In total, 13,383 documents were reviewed, all of which can be categorized as follows. A, S21 prisoner entry logs. They could be daily logs or monthly logs. B, biography of S21 prisoners. C, S21 log prepared by S21 staff with respect to the condition of prisoners. D, S21 list of prisoners interrogated, interrogation lists. And E, S21 prisoner execution logs. So 5 separate categories apparently can be distinguished. My question is it correct that all 13,383 documents can be divided or categorized in these 5 categories? Or is it only the documents that you have used for your Excel sheet that can be categorized thus.
The documents of 13,000 plus, which I examined, these documents were examined by me, and after that I referred to the 871 documents, and the co-investigating judges issued a memorandum, and five categories were made based on the 871 documents that I referred to.
Let me try it differently. Maybe my questions are not very clear. I apologize, Madam Witness, but let me give you an example. Confessions from prisoners. Were they included in the number of 13,383, yes or no?
I referred to the lists of confessions from S21, from Toslai Museum rather. The heading of those documents say confessions of the Vietnamese, Thai, for example. However, after my examination of those documents appears to be the type of biographies.
Maybe if you can answer just yes or no. Confessions from prisoners. Were they included in that number of 13,383? Yes or no?
Are you saying that I also used those confessions? I am not sure with your question.
No. It is clear to me, in order to make your Excel list, you used 871 documents. However, you examined many more documents, almost 13,500. My question is, in that number of 13,500, were there also confessions included?
There was a list of confessions.
Can you roughly indicate how many documents of those 13,383 were confessions from prisoners?
I referred to the list of confessions of Toslai. I did not refer to each and every confessions per se. At Toslai, there was a list of confessions, the compiled list of confessions.
May I just ask to clarify? So you are talking about one document which listed confessions. You're not talking about the confessions, the documents on which the confessions were written. Is that correct? Yeah.
Witness, that is correct.
Are you nevertheless in a position to say approximately how many confessions there are? How many confessions of prisoners are in the possession either of DC Camp or the Toolslang Museum?
I used the list prepared by a staff of Toolslang, and that document can be found in E3/2775. That is the list of confessions. I used and referred to that list of confessions to make it clear.
That is clear to me. My question is, in your 2 years of work, 24 months of analysis, are you in a position to approximately say how many confessions there are? Confessions either in the possession of Toolslang Museum or confessions in the possession of DC Camp. Is it possible for you to give any approximate number?
In the list of in my list, based on E3/393.1.3, in that spreadsheet, the heading, some documents bear the heading of confessions, and there are 27 confessions in the spreadsheet, and those 27 documents have the title of confessions. But in those documents, you can see that some documents say have the heading of biographies. It appears to be a biographies.
So just to be clear, but there was an answer to my question, but you were admitting that you have used confessions in the OCIJ list. But my question is, can you estimate roughly how many confessions there are? Let me ask it in a different way. There is an historian, an expert also to this court, David Chandler, and he wrote a book about S21, Mr. President, that is E3/1684. I'm referring to English ERN 00192685, Khmer 001981, excuse me, 835, French 00357268. He refers to, according to his research, that roughly 4,300 confessions have come to light so far. Is that a number that you can somehow confirm?
Can we clarify when so far was said?
I presume the moment he wrote his book. I believe I will give you the year shortly. I don't know it by heart.
It's just a fair addition if you ask the witness the question.
With a brief caveat, and the witness, the historian Chandler, when he researched the archives, when he wrote his book, he said that at the moment of publication of his book, 4,300 confessions had come to light so far. My question, is that a number that you can somehow corroborate? Is that a number that you have somehow been able to establish yourself as well?
In the list of S21 prisoners compiled, drawn up by a staff of Tourism Museum, there are around 4,000 confessions. Again, I would like to inform the chamber that I compared the list of confessions prepared by a staff of Tourism with the list that I have. After I prepared a list, then I compared my list with the list drawn up by a staff of Tourism to make sure that those documents are also available in my list. The list of incoming prisoners and list of outgoing prisoners are different.
I'm sure I haven't asked the question properly, but I'll move.
Let me try one last time. Do you have any idea, witness, today, how many confessions do exist in S21 or in DC camp? Do you know or do you not know? Forget lists. Did somebody tell you? Did you count them for whatever reason? Can you tell us how many confessions still exist today? Or can you not? It's also possible to say, I don't know.
I do not know about that, since I myself did not examine each and every confession of S21.
That's clear now. Thank you, Madam Witness. Another potential source of information would be S21 photographs. It's not mentioned in the memo of the International Co-Investigating Judge of 30 March. But have you, in your analysis, used photographs to reach certain conclusions? Are photographs part of the 13,383 documents that you have analyzed?
I have not yet examined those photographs.
Same question as in respect of the confessions. Are you nevertheless able somehow to say how many photographs of prisoners have been found or are present in either the DC Chem archive or the Toolslang Museum archives? Do you know how many photos there are of prisoners?
Regarding photographs, I actually do not know the number.
Just very briefly, Mr. President, I have here a list of, or a book full with photos of S21. That is document E3/9837. We have used it quite extensively in our examination of witnesses. May I just briefly hand it over to the witness and ask the witness to go through it and just to have her confirm that she never used, or maybe she did, these photographs.
President, yes, please.
As you see, it's not only photos, but on the back side of each photo are prisoner data, bio information, etc. Have you ever used these photos in your analysis?
I have never used these photos. I have not used all of these photos.
Does that even look familiar to you, these photos with on the back side information? Have you ever seen these photos before?
Yes, I have seen them at the Toolslang Museum, though I cannot recall any specific photo. As for these small photos with the handwriting on the back, this is the first time that I see them.
Are you in a position to say why it is that your office has not included these photos and the data in the analysis? Do you know if there was some kind of decision-making process?
I only worked on the incoming prisoners list, and my time period was limited, that is a period of 2 years. And I also worked on a certain list of incoming prisoners. For example, for the incoming prisoners for the year of 1976, I have certain months to work on them before I move on. And for that reason, I did not have time to examine those photos, as indicated in the memo by the International Co-Investigating Judge, due to the time limitation.
I understand. Or maybe I don't. Madam Witness, another question. just before the recess, the Chamber obtained an original orange-colored logbook of S21. Are you aware of this? Have you seen this original orange logbook just about, I would say, 3 weeks ago?
Please refer to it, or please show me which document that you are referring to.
That would be a bit difficult. Mr. President, you might recall that before the recess I requested on the very last day to have Wesu contact the witness to have her show that original orange logbook that was provided to us by the German filmmaker. Apparently that hasn't happened. But may I request that maybe CMS, together with Wesu in the lunch break, could show this orange logbook to the witness, just so that we are sure that she knows what we are speaking about. Now let me move on to some general issues of numbers. We mentioned this number before, Madam Witness. In your list you have a total of 15,102 prisoner entries. Is that correct? You have established that, according to you, 15,102 prisoners have entered and have been detained at S21.
Allow me to clarify it again. In my list, the prisoner entries was 15,101, and it's not 102.
I'm sure that's my mistake. 15,101. You have listed in your OCIJ list various columns, various categories, being, for instance, the date of arrest, date of execution. Are you in a position, and of course if you would like to have a look at your Excel sheet, that is no problem at all, but are you in a position to confirm that of 15,102 prisoners, that only, let's skip the word only, 5,512 prisoners have a date of execution? Is that something that you can confirm? Are our calculations correct?
Regarding the number of prisoners who were executed, I relied on the original incoming prisoners working through the years. Then we try to find other list to check whether the prisoners were successfully smashed or executed. And in the spreadsheet that you showed, and as I indicated, my time period was limited. I did not focus fully on the list of prisoners who were executed, but my main focus was on the list of incoming prisoners. However, there were instances that I referred through those documents. That is, first the incoming prisoners list, and then I referred to the date of execution. From my recollection, I used several of these documents in December, because on the first or second day of December, there were only a list of prisoners who were executed and no list of prisoners who were brought in. And as I said, first I had to rely on the incoming prisoners list based on the year. And as in the case of December 1978, the incoming prisoners list only existed for the 1st and the 2nd of December, and for that reason I had to refer to the list of prisoners who were executed. So you may refer to the columns in my list, and you may know which documents that I refer to.
I appreciate that there might be a margin of error, but roughly speaking, approximately speaking, would it be fair to conclude that based on your list, approximately 1/3 of the alleged S-21 prisoners have a date of execution?
Mr. President, our objection to this question is that the witness has just testified that she didn't do an exhaustive review based on of the execution lists. So counsel is leading and asking a question that is not doesn't comport with the testimony the witness has just given.
I do not agree with that observation, Mr. President. Either someone is executed or someone isn't executed. It's not. It's quite a binary conclusion. So I'm not quite sure what it means that she hasn't done exhaustive analysis. We might come to that if we have time. But my question simple is whether our calculations on based on the Excel sheets that we have done are approximately correct. And that is an answer I think she is able to give. So my question simply is 15,102 prisoners entries. Is it correct that 5,512 prisoners have apparently a known date of execution?
As the witness, you may respond to this question, and the objection by the OCP is overruled. Witness, allow me to respond. Yes, that is correct. I did not focus on the list of prisoners who were executed, but I focused on a list of incoming prisoners at S-21.
I'm not going to examples, but it seems that from this number, 5,512, approximately 76 people have not died from execution, but rather from diseases. My question in general, if someone died of a disease, did you nevertheless list that person as being executed?
Generally speaking, in the list of executed prisoners, Sometimes, for example, they mention, allow me to say, on the 1st of January 78, that 100 people had to be smashed. However, there was a note at the end of the documents that there were 5 who died from diseases. This is the kind of documents that I use to see. However, in my list, I focused and relied on the incoming prisoners list. And if there was a note at the end that this person A died from disease, then I may make a reference to that note from that list, that is from the original document. But for me, I did not focus on a list of prisoners who were executed or who died from diseases. And if you have any specific documents that you may want to refer to, please show that to me.
Didn't list somebody who died of a disease as executed. Is that correct? You didn't lump all the dead under executed, but if somebody died of a disease, you made a reference, and if he was executed, then he was put down as executed. Is that true?
Judge Samalavan, you have the floor.
Can I get an answer for the record? Is what I said true? You have to say something. Your head doesn't show on the record. I note for the record that she is nodding her head. So you agree with what I said, yes?
I'm not sure if...
Okay, then, no, I
maybe
don't
the
want...
legal officer should intervene. I'm not sure if she understands the question.
Okay, let me try again. Did you make a difference between people who died of a disease and people who were executed in your list?
If the document states that, for example, this is the list of executed prisoners, and if one of the prisoners had a note that a person died from disease or from other cause, then I would refer to that. However, as for the differentiation between prisoners who die from diseases or prisoners who were executed, I did not make that differentiation, and I only refer to notes from the original documents. President, Judge Laverne, you have the floor.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. In order for us to be perfectly clear on this, I did not see on the list established by Mrs. Insotani a column indicated whether a prisoner was executed or not. However, in the documents used for purposes of reference, she referred to documents in which witnesses were either declared as executed or as having died of ill health. In some cases, the documents were lists of executed prisoners, but in addition to that, there was the indication that some prisoners had not been executed, but died of ill health. Did I properly understand you?
Yes.
Well, maybe it's wise to use an example. Madam Witness, let me refer you to your binder examples 7 and 8. These are respectively documents E3/3181 and E3/8460. It seems, and correct me if I'm wrong, that these are names of prisoners who died on the 3rd of October 1977 of disease. But they are nevertheless, according to you, executed while at S21. So, if you can have, let me be very concrete. In document E3/3181, we see a prisoner named Tau Nop, alias Tem. In the Excel sheet, he is number 3476, and he has as a date of execution the 3rd of October 1977. So that's a very concrete example, Madam Witness. It's a 39-year-old male, Tau Nop, alias Tem, member of the Protocol Section Office B1, entry date 1 April 1977. Apparently he died of a disease on the 3rd of October 1977. However, in your list, he is listed as being executed on the 3rd of October 1977. Can you explain that?
Allow me to clarify it. In my list, he appears at 3476. His name is Thao Nhiep. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you please refer to the document number that you just quoted, since I cannot locate it?
It's in your binder under number 7. Our E3 number is E3/3181.
And the one with the sickness?
That's that's that particular document, E3/3181. It's a list called Names of Prisoners Died on 3 October 77, died of disease. And I just have one example. It's Tau Nup, alias Tem, male, 39, taken from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And his function was member of Protocol Section Office B1, entry date 1/4/77. He appears on the OCIJ list as number 3476, and here it says date of execution 3 October 1977. Would that be an error then, assuming disease, dying of disease is not the same as execution?
Regarding the documents that I review, the document's title is Names of Prisoners Died on 3rd October 77, died of deceased. And in reference to this document, I put a note in English that this prisoner died of disease on that particular day. And you asked me whether I differentiated between the prisoners who were executed and those prisoners who died from diseases. I can tell you that I had already a reference to this prisoner that she died of disease.
Maybe you have a different version of the OCIJ list than I have. But if I look at number 3476, I do not see a specific separate category of this person having died of a disease. Can you tell us where you indicated this?
Would it be possible to put this on the screen? Then we can compare.
It seems to be a bit difficult to put it on the screen. Let me.
Just to ensure that we all have the same list.
Yeah. Well, I hope there's only one list. But because of time, may I move on to another subject which is important to us, and maybe we'll get back to it. That's another statistics which we find interesting, Madam Witness. Is it approximately correct that of the 15,102 entries, 700 persons are listed as wives of other people, and that among these 700 persons, only 202 persons are listed as solely wife of. In other words, the other ones have a category wife of subsequently their position within the DK, and that 200 of the 15,000 are listed as solely being the wife of someone else. Is that a figure that you can confirm, approximately, of course?
Regarding the available references that I have, if any document states that person A was a wife of a person B, then I would use that information in my list. However, as for the certain number of wives, out of those number of wives, for example, 200 or something, as you indicated, I did not make that distinction in my list.
I understand. Mr. President, I do have some more questions, but we need to also save about 15 or 20 minutes for the Kirsampan team. So I will stop here.
Thank you. And the floor is now given to the co-prosecutors to put questions to the witness.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Madam Witness. I want to just follow up on this issue about how prisoners who died of disease were treated, because we left that hanging there. In your OCIJ list, the very last column is titled Remarks. You were about to be asked where it is that you would indicate if the prisoner had died of disease rather being executed. Do I understand correctly that was it the remarks column that was used for that information?
Yes, that is correct. The information is included in that column whether the person was executed or the person died from disease. However, if this information was not mentioned in the original documents, then this note would not be included in my list.
And just so we're clear, you've stated a number of times already that your focus was on the incoming prisoner records. But in cases where you found a reference to a prisoner who died of disease, is it correct that your practice was to put the date of death in the execution date column, but then note in the remarks column that this person had not been executed but had died of disease on that date? Do I understand correctly? Was that your practice in cases of prisoners who died of disease?
I initially referred to the original documents. If in the original document a prisoner died of a disease or of another cause, then I would include that information in the remark column. But on the list of executed prisoners, and usually the title would be means the list of executed prisoners on this particular day, then I would use a similar title in my list. However, if there is a note for a particular prisoner from the list, then that information would be included in my list as well.
Thank you, Madam Witness. Let me now go back. I have a few follow-ups on some subjects that were covered with you this morning by the defense counsel. When you were describing the process for obtaining and reviewing documents, you indicated that you didn't go to DC Cam yourself, but that there was a period, if I got the translation right, you said in February or March, where you went to examine certain documents at the Tuol Sleng Museum. Can you just describe for us what led you to go to Tuol Sleng Museum, what year this was, and what documents you examined when you were at Tuol Sleng Museum?
Allow me to respond again. I went to examine the documents at the Tuol Sleng Museum in around February or March of 2016, before my list was forwarded to the chamber. And during that period of time, I went to examine the documents, in particularly those biographies, because although at DC Camp they have a similar documents of biographies, I did not examine the original documents, and that's why I went to examine those documents at Tuol Sleng Museum with the original TSL identification number. I do that in order to clarify their names against my list, whether they had their names appeared on the incoming prisoners list at S21. Because the list of incoming prisoners, sometimes those documents did not exist in proper order, and in order to complete the list of incoming prisoners at S21 based on their existing biographies, then I went to examine those documents at Tuol Sleng Museum.
Let me follow up also on the process through which the 13,383 document list was compiled. Did I understand correctly that this was a list that the head of the analysis team compiled based on the DC Cam website? Is that where he came up with that list? you give us a verbal answer, a yes or no.
Yes, that is correct.
At any point in this process, this review, was there an effort made to compile a list of the S-21 records, whether entry lists or execution lists, that were in evidence or that were on the case file in case number 2?
Regarding the list of documents compiled by my team leader, some of the documents derived from cases 001 or 002 and which already existed on the shared material drive. So I examined those documents and find out more information regarding the incoming prisoners.
Okay. Do you know what was done, what effort was made to ensure that all the S-21 prisoner lists that were in evidence in either case 1 or case 2 were included in the master list of documents you were to review?
I do not get your question. Please rephrase it.
We've already covered that there was a total of 13,383 documents reviewed. You indicated that those documents were that list was compiled by the head of the analysis team from the DCCAM website. My question is, was there an effort also made to look through the case file in cases 1 and 2 to identify all S-21 records, or did you rely exclusively on this list, on the list of 13,383 that came from the DCCAM website?
Among the 13,383 documents, in fact, it is a combination of those documents and also documents from cases 001 and 002, which I myself examined. As for the list of the execution, for example, that happened in year 1976 or 77, I did not fully review those documents due to time limitation.
Let me turn to another subject, and that is I wanted to follow up to ask you some questions about how the process with respect to avoiding duplicate entries. A memorandum that was written by Judge Bolander, E393.1, paragraph 6, states as follows: only the prisoners that were verifiable with Khmer Rouge contemporaneous documents were entered into the S-21 prisoner list. For transliteration of the Khmer names and location into English, the DCCAM transliteration system was used. Utmost care was given to avoid double entries of prisoner names. End of quote. Can you just explain to us, in terms of your methodology, what was done to avoid or minimize duplicate entries of prisoner names in the OCIJ list?
regarding the names, I first refer to the original documents, and I refer through all the relevant information regarding the names, alias, position, place of arrest. That is all those information contained in the list. Then I include them in my list. And if there are other documents that refer to a particular prisoner's name or a similar name, I do not only refer to the name, because in some cases people use their father's names as their actual names, and that is based on my personal experience working for the CCAM. I then look at the names, the original names, that is the full name and the alias. And sometimes this information is not sufficient to confirm whether the person is that person. Then I have to refer to his date of birth and position and place of arrest. Sometimes there is a misunderstanding in the spelling of the my names, that in particular between the first name and the revolutionary name. And I may to give Hein Sokom alias Ko, but sometimes you say Hein Ko alias Sokom. So there is this mix-up in the writing. But there had to be 2 or 3 informations which are the same before I can conclude that the documents refer to the same individual. So there is their original names, the alias, the position, and the place of arrest and the date of the arrest. So at least 2 or 3 of these information has to be the same before I can conclude that the person or the individual is the same person.
I'm trying to focus on specifically how you would discover when a duplicate existed. I note that you were successful in finding several hundred duplicate entries in the original the OCP S21 list, and I'm just interested in how you were able to do that. When you came on a new prisoner name in a list, did you have a system for checking the names that were already entered, or can you just explain to us generally what you did when you would come across a new prisoner name to check to see whether it already existed in your spreadsheet?
Generally, I focused on the original document, that is the list of incoming prisoners. And if there is a new name, I had to first look at the original document, that is the list of incoming prisoners. I could not simply just assume that this is a new name without looking at the original documents. So I will, based on the information I was given, and then I would verify it with the original list. Sometimes there are a few documents that I have in order to verify the names. Let me inform the Chamber that I do not depend only on one document in case of necessity. But in December 1977, there was a list of executed prisoners that I reviewed. That is the only document that I have. Again, I had to refer to the original document or list of incoming prisoners to make sure that there is a duplicate name or not. As I have informed the Chamber, sometimes there is a misunderstanding when the name is included, the misunderstanding of the first name and the alias name.
Just make sure I understand correctly. You've indicated this a number of times. Your primary source in compiling the spreadsheet and list of the prisoners was to go through the records of the so-called prisoner entry records. And in cases where you were looking at other documents and saw a prisoner name, before you would add that to the list, you would first go back and see whether that person had already appeared in the incoming prisoner lists. Is that correct? Is that what you did to make sure that you weren't, to avoid or minimize duplicates?
That is correct, Mr. President. President, thank you. It is now time for lunch. The Chamber will take a lunch break from now until 1:30. Before taking the lunch break, the Chamber wishes to inform the defense team and all the parties that the orange log book of prisoners, the case officers and the Chamber will put for examination after the lunch break. Court officer, please assist the witness in the waiting room during the lunch break, and please invite her back together with the legal officer of the OCIJ into the witness stand at 1:30. Security personnel are instructed to bring Mr. Kyusompon to the waiting room downstairs, and please bring him back into the courtroom before 1:30. The court is now in recess for lunch.